author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur, and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business, but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the show that is the highlight of your week. I know it is. You're welcome to the Bebe Means Business Show. This is a show, as you know, where you get all your advice, your tips, your information, to do everything to do with business and entrepreneurship and how to create wealth and become financially free. Today I have something different because, as you know, in the UK, October is Black History Month. It's Black History Month, where we celebrate all our achievements. We inform other ethnic groups as to our history, all that we have done and contributed to the economy of not just this nation but other nations, and we celebrate that. But I also want to use this time as a time of reflection amongst ourselves, just between me and you. We'll use it as a time of reflection. We're going to be talking today about Black businesses. Where are we now? Black businesses, where are we now? But before I delve into it, those of you who want to, and I don't see why you wouldn't want to, you can connect with me on Twitter at Bebe Clement. Twitter at Bebe Clement, that's my Twitter handle. Or if you're more used to Instagram, if you use Bebe_Clement. Or indeed, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, just type in my name, Bebe Clement, and I will definitely come up. But I'd encourage you to join because I'm always throwing stuff out there that will really help you on your entrepreneurial journey. So by all means, please connect with me. As you know, I run a group of small companies, and I'm also the author of that book that you can see at the bottom of the screen, How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur. Now, as you know, we're in perilous times when it comes to job situation. We're in perilous times. But for many of you, this is the best time to start something that you've always wanted to start. This is the time to pursue the dream that is on the inside of you in relation to business and wealth creation. So if you're planning on embarking on that journey and you're not sure how to do it, I'd encourage you to get that book. You can get it from Amazon for $12.99, or indeed you can get it from my website, which is www.bbclement.com for the same price, and that will definitely help you on your journey. Okay, so if you're just joining me, I'm your host, Bebe Clement, and as I said earlier today, in celebration of Black History Month, we are going to be looking at Black business. Where are we now? Now, in as much as we want to celebrate all that we're doing in relation to business and entrepreneurship, but I also think that there's no point in us having a sentimental view of things if the reality is actually very different. So we're going to have a close look at the reality of where we are so that we can do better where need be, so we can make better strides and just improve and speed up the journey of becoming financially free, not just as individuals, but as a people. Speed up the journey of becoming financially free. So we're going to be looking today at where we are and where we should be and what we need to get to where we should be and what is holding us back. What is holding us back? So let's have a look at it. So the first thing I'd like us to have a look at is property. Now, as you know, when it comes to wealth creation, property is key, and I'll go back to that in a minute. But what interests me is I was reading some research done by Bloomberg earlier in the year. And according to Bloomberg, the typical Black family in the UK has zero, not 10%, not 5%, zero wealth accumulated in property. Whereas the average Caucasian or white family has £161,000. I'm going to say that again because it is alarming, and I want it to alarm you properly so that we do something about it. So Bloomberg, who does all this research, you know that, they came up with a study that found that the typical black family in the UK has zero wealth accumulated in property, and compared that or offset that with the average Caucasian family that has £161,000. Now, the importance of property ownership in wealth accumulation cannot be overemphasized. If you want to build wealth, one of the best investments you will ever make is owning property. Crash, property tends to go up in value purely by market forces, purely by the laws of supply and demand. I remember many years ago, our first house cost us £53,000. We sold it a few years later for £180,000. Now, there are very few things that you will invest in that would give you that kind of return, let's be honest. And we didn't do anything to make that asset appreciate. We didn't do anything. So it's not like we painted it or anything like that. We didn't do anything. Just sheer market forces makes it increase. Now, obviously, if you have a property crash, then the opposite will happen. The property will lose value. But having said that, even in a property crash is a great time to actually buy property that you wouldn't normally be able to afford when there's a boom. So whichever way you look at it, property is a great investment. It's a great investment. Now, the reason why that finding by Bloomberg should be a source of fear to us and a source of panic to us as a people is because property is an appreciable asset, as I've said. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket, and an appreciable asset is something that increases in value as you go along, which is what you want to be investing in if you want to create wealth. So that means that if we have 0% wealth accumulated in property, that means that we are shut out as a people of one of the best ways in which to create wealth, and more importantly, to pass that wealth down to our children. Now, as you know, for those of you who listen to this program a lot, you know that I'm very big on the whole generational wealth thinking. I don't believe that when you're creating wealth, you should be thinking just about you or maybe your spouse. You got to be thinking generationally. The Bible says that a wise man or a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, not just his children, his children's children. So we should be thinking generationally. I think that's a good thing to borrow from the Bible. We should be thinking generationally. So when I read that statistic, that scared me. That meant that, in effect, if we're not careful, the next generation is going to have to start all over again, which is what keeps happening in the black community. So I want us to have a look at some of the reasons why. How did this come about? How did we get here? How is it possible that the black community, who has been here for generations now, has 0% of wealth accumulated in the property market? Now, one of the reasons is they found that only 30% of black people in the UK actually own their own property. Now, that is a problem in itself. And there are a number of reasons for that have nothing to do with us. That's not on us. And I'm going to be honest about that. One, a black person is more likely to be turned down for a loan in the bank. Statistics show this. That's nothing new. Two, we are more likely to have bad credit. It's almost like we're in a vicious cycle when it comes to wealth. So if you have bad credit and you're likely to be refused a loan, the possibility of you getting on the property ladder is greatly diminished. So there are some things that are actually beyond our ability, and there's nothing we can do about it at the moment. Although I actually think that the black community should come together and start making noise about this, but that's an issue for another program. Now, I was reading some research by Akugo Emejulo, who is a sociology professor in the University of Warwick, and he said something which I know he said in our defense. He said that except your parents were lucky enough to own their own home, you can't get on the housing ladder. Except your parents were lucky enough to own their own home, you can't get on the housing ladder. Now, first of all, I disagree with that statement. With all due respect, sir, I know you're a professor, but first of all, I disagree with that statement. our parents didn't have a property, and I know lots and lots of black people who own property in the UK whose parents did not own their own property. So first of all, I disagree with that, respectfully. But for me, there's a greater danger in those kind of statements, because if we're not careful, we tend to use those kind of statements as a crutch. And it tends to halt us finding a solution to the problem. And so I'm going to put that aside for now, and say, just like I said before, that we bought our property without any help from our parents. Our parents did not own their own home. Having said that, we bought it during the Thatcher era, and we were in social housing at the time. And this was a time when Thatcher had a policy whereby she was helping people in social housing begin to own their own home, so they contributed considerably towards the purchase of a home. So I will say that that's true, and it's possible that many of us would never have been able to afford to get our own home but for that. But having said that, we have come a long way from that. And now it is easier to get on the property ladder. We have property investment clubs. And on this program alone, we've had property investors come on here a few times and tell us how to do it. We've had the amazing Bimbola Osage on this show a couple of times, as well as some others. And she runs a property investment club whereby you no longer need $200,000-300,000 of your own money to invest in property. You can pool resources together with other people, and there are lots of business investment projects that you can get involved in. So you can get involved in buy properties at auction, you do them up, and you flip them immediately, and everybody divides the proceeds depending on the percentage that you put in. Or you can buy property more for the long term, whereby you let them out, you put tenants in the property, so you get not only a share of the rent, but you also get capital interest or capital gains on the property, because as you're letting the property out, the property, as we said earlier, is increasing in value purely due to market forces. So let's say you keep such a property for 5 years, you can sell it after 5 years and then divide the proceeds, and then accumulate wealth that way, such that it is easier for you to put down the deposit on a property. So it is no longer true that you need 500, 400,000 to buy your own property. There are ways in which you can do it, even within our community. So if you'd like some more information about that, please let me know. Send me an email, or send me put something in Facebook. If you're following us on Facebook, put something in the chat, and we can get some information to you, some details to you, that you can get some more information as to how to do this. Do not be denied unnecessarily, because there are ways through these things. Now, those are the reasons that came out in the report, and some of the reasons that Akwogu Amejilo brought to our attention. But with respect, I would like to give some of the reasons why we are having such problems in relation to property, and why we have zero wealth invested in property. So I want to just share the ones that I have observed from my own personal observations. Now, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with me, but these are my own personal observations. One of the reasons why we have no wealth in property is, one, we often get a bigger mortgage than we can afford. We often get a bigger mortgage than we can afford. You know, sometimes when I listen to black people in relation to wealth creation, it's almost like we approach our finances on a wing and a prayer, with our fingers crossed and our eyes closed. And we fail to be realistic about our financial situation and what we are capable of doing, and what we should get involved in and what we should avoid. So let's say, for example, you and your husband are bringing in between you 80,000 a year. So let's say I'm bringing in 30,000, my husband is bringing in 50,000. You already know what that 50,000 is going to do. You have to pay rent, you have to do council tax, you have to pay bills, the children have to eat, you have to wear clothes. You know already what that 80,000 is going to cover and what it's not going to cover. So if you are bringing in only 80,000 a year, why in heaven's name would you go and get a 400,000, 350,000 pound mortgage? There is no way you can afford that. No way you can afford that. And all you need is a slight mishap in your finances. Something you didn't foresee happening, perhaps being made redundant, or a child having to go to uni, or some kind of expense that you didn't envisage. That's all you need to happen. And before you know it, you are behind on your mortgage. And before you know it, the bank is breathing down your neck. And if you're not careful, they repossess. So if you're going to get on the property ladder, you have to be realistic about your financial situation and your financial capability. If your finances only stretch to a bedsit in Thamesmead, then invest in a bedsit in Thamesmead. Don't try and keep up with the Joneses, which is what we keep doing. Don't try and keep up with the Joneses and try and keep face and go and get a £400,000 3-bedroom house in Blackheath if you can't afford it. So be realistic about your finances and only invest in what you can afford. 2, a lack of information or understanding or ignorance of what we're getting involved in when it comes to property. So for instance, some people don't understand the difference between an interest-only mortgage and a repayment mortgage. They don't understand. So an interest-only mortgage is where you are only paying the interest. The principal loan remains the same, and that still has to be paid. So for instance, if you get a £100,000 mortgage and the interest is, I don't know, £100 a year, and you get an interest-only mortgage. So for the duration of the loan, you will only be paying that £100. But the principal, the £100,000, is still there, and you still have to pay that. Whereas a repayment mortgage, you are servicing not just the interest, you are servicing the principal mortgage as well. These are bits of information that seem they don't seem important, but you'd be amazed at the number of people who don't understand how their mortgage works. And so they're surprised at the end of it when they're told that they now have 3 years to clear up the principal. And that's a tragedy. It's a tragedy for you to have paid, serviced a loan for, I don't know, 15, 20 years, and then discover that you can't service the rest, and then have your house repossessed. It's a tragedy. So it's important that you get all the right information. If you don't understand what the bank is telling you, find out. There are mortgage advisors within our community. If you don't want to go outside the community, there are mortgage advisors within our community who can explain to you what you are getting yourself involved in. Okay. Here's another one. Remortgaging for reasons that make the property a liability. You remember I said an asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Now, oftentimes within our community, because the only asset we have is our home, we tend to take money or we remortgage out of it. Now, let me say this. The equity in your home, as far as I'm concerned, is what you should be passing down to your children. If you can avoid it, do not touch the equity in your home. Because what happens increasingly in our society, or in my community, is a person owns a home, the children think that they're going to inherit that home, the person dies, only for the children to discover that that house is mortgaged up to here, and the other debts, the debts that their parents left, by the time they've serviced those debts, there's actually nothing in the property. The property is a shell, and in fact, the bank wants their money back. And there's not enough money in the property to even make it worth selling. And so the bank will sell it at a below market price. And we've often seen cases where the children are actually left with a debt from the house. Something that should have been an asset now becomes a debt for the children. Ladies and gentlemen, moms and dads, if you can, please avoid taking the equity out of your home, except where you are taking the equity out to invest in something that you know is going to produce a financial yield. So perhaps you're taking the money out to invest in a business or another investment, something like that. But don't take the money out to do what we often do. Don't take the money out to go and bury your dead father in Africa because you want to impress people that really don't wish you well and they don't like you. And then you come back and the asset that you're supposed to have passed down to your children is now worth very little, if anything. And this is why we ended up with that statistic, whereas the black community has zero wealth accumulated in property. So please, we've got to learn the lessons. And I know I'm sounding very hard-hitting, but I would like you to see this as a checkup. The first thing your doctor does is he assesses the patient. He diagnoses the patient. This is what is wrong with you before he can recommend or offer a medication. There's no point in offering medication when we don't know what is wrong with you. So take it as we are analyzing as a people, what are the issues that we are facing in relation to black business and in relation to building wealth. Okay, I hope it's taken in that spirit, because that's the spirit in which it's meant. All right, another reason why is because we don't use the property as an asset. We don't make it work for us. So for instance, let's say you own, I don't know, a 4-bedroom house, and hitherto you had 3 kids and they all had their own bedroom, but now the kids have all flown the nest, or the kids have gone off to university. Why don't you make that property work for you? Why don't you let out one of the rooms? Even if it's £400-500 that you are getting, £400-500, if you pay that money towards your mortgage, you will pay off your mortgage a lot quicker than you anticipated. So these are things that you should think about. Now, yes, I get that. I don't like having strangers in my home either. But it is something that you should consider, because then the property is working for you. And I'm a strong proponent of not working hard for your money, making your money or making your asset work hard for you. Another thing you could do is consider downsizing. So if you have a 4-bedroom mansion and the kids have all gone, what is the point of you and your husband, or you and your partner sitting in a 4-bedroom house on your own? You might consider downsizing. So perhaps you could sell that house, use that money, move further out of London, where 60% of black people are concentrated, move further afield. And you'll be able to buy, sometimes you're able to buy a property cash down, and you'd still have money for your retirement, or still have money that you could give to the children later on. These are all things that you can consider. Now, of course, they will not all be right for you, but there's things that you can consider. Okay. Another we have had this problem is because we don't protect our wealth. You need to protect your asset. Write a will and protect your property. Write a will and protect your property. Don't assume that because you own the property, if you die, your children are going to automatically inherit it. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And thankfully, we've had someone on the show. We had Remy Ayala some months ago, who's an excellent solicitor when it comes to will writing and protecting your assets. And she gave us some fantastic advice on how to do that. This is why this is important, because sadly, again, marital and relationship breakdown is at an all-time high within the black community in the UK. And so now it is not unusual to have people married 2-3 times. It's no longer unusual. And what then happens, I'll give an example. So let's say a husband and wife are married, and one of the spouses dies. Let's say the wife dies, and she thinks, obviously, that if she dies, her part of the house is going to go to her children. But then the husband remarries, and he marries someone who had her own children. It is not automatic that if he dies, your biological children are going to get the house. We've had cases where the new spouse and even the children of the spouse that are not related to the guy that died have gone to court to fight for an asset, and the court has awarded them the house. So don't think it's automatic. You have to protect your assets. Write a will. Specify exactly how you want this asset to pass on and who you want it to pass on to. Because if you don't, you may be in for a shocker that may make you roll over in your grave. And your children may not be the better off for all the hard work that you have done in accumulating this asset. And the fact that you failed to protect it may rob your children of what you intended for them to have. Not maintaining your property. Not maintaining your property and letting it go into disrepair will knock a lot off its value. It will knock a lot of its value. Now, maintenance is not something as a community that we're very good at doing. Don't let that happen with your property. So as time's going along, continuously look at your property. What needs doing? Do I need to replace the windows and replace them with double glazing? Does it need a lick of paint? Do I need to buy, something else for the house? That crack in the wall, does it mean there's subsidence? Don't ignore it. Don't ignore it, because it's not going to go away if it is subsidence. These are the kind of things that you need to pay attention to and do something about, because those are the things that make the property depreciate, and they're avoidable, totally avoidable. I'm telling you, just painting your house can increase the value. Just painting it can increase the value. Changing the windows increases the value significantly. Adding an extra room to the house, whoa, increases the value significantly. So these are the things that we must do to change this story. We've got to change this narrative. I'm hoping that in 2-3 years, if Bloomberg carries out the same research, they will come to a different conclusion. That is my prayer, and I hope that prayer will be heard. Okay, I'm going to take a break in a little while, but just before we do, just to let you know, as for those of you who are regular listeners, that this show is live and it's interactive. So I want to hear your views on anything that I've said today. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you believe that black people do have wealth in property, and you disagree with the Bloomberg finding. Maybe you agree with Akugo Emejula that it's not our fault that we're not able to get on the property ladder. You're entitled to your opinion, but I want to hear it. So by all means, hook us up. You can hook us up on our Twitter handle, which is @StarRadioUK, or you can text or WhatsApp us on 07539 661 744. That number again, 07539 661 744, or drop us an email at info@StarRadioUK, or join us on Facebook. If you're joining us on Facebook, just put your question or your opinion in the chat, and I will shout it out after the break. Okay, I'm going to go get some water because my throat is hurting, and then I'll be back in a minute. Don't go away.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur, and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And for those of you who are just joining us, I'm your host, Bebe Clement, and you are tuned into the program of the week, Bebe Means Business. This is the show where you get all your information and advice on anything and everything to do with business, entrepreneurship, creating wealth, and how to become financially free. Okay, so just before the break, we were looking at today's topic, which is black business. Where are we now? And we were having a cold, dispassionate view of where we are as entrepreneurs and what we need to do to get to where we want to be. And we were looking at property as an asset, and the Bloomberg report, the sad, very sad and disheartening Bloomberg report that black people in the UK have 0% of wealth accumulated in property. So now I'd like to look at business itself, black business itself. All right. Now, an equally disheartening statistic is that the lifespan of the average UK-based black business is from conception to death 5 to 7 years. Oh God, 5 to 7 years. Rather than in the Asian community, the average lifespan of a business is 1 generation. A generation is 25 years. And that is from conception to death. So it's not even from the start of the business. It's from conception. From the day a black person in the UK wakes up and says, do you know what, I'd really like to go into business. The minute he starts thinking about it, to the day he closes it down, is no more than 5 to 7 years on average. Now, I'm not saying that that's every business, but on average, that is the case. And I've done some considerable research into this. There's a particular street in my area that has a lot of black businesses, and I've done some research into this, using that as a case study. And for me, that's correct. That is correct. So we are going to have a look at the reasons why. Why is it that our businesses do not last long? What are we doing wrong? What are we doing different from other community groups? Let's have a look at some of those things. One, and again, these are my opinions based on my experience and my interaction with black business owners in the UK. Again, you don't have to agree with it, that's fine, but these are my findings. One, we don't do enough market research. We don't do enough market research. We tend to wake up and think that we have a brilliant idea, and because we think it's a brilliant idea, and because we think it's something that we like, we think that everybody else is going to like it as well. And oftentimes we're wrong. Oftentimes we're wrong. You need to do your market research. Is there actually a market for this product or service? That's the first thing you need to do. Then another thing we fail to do is we fail to identify our demographic. In other words, we often think that our product or service has universal or will have universal appeal. And that again is not true. Every product, every service has what we call a demographic, a specific group of people that will be interested in your product. And so you need to be able to identify that demographic even before you commence on the business as part of your market research. So let's say, for instance, I go into a business where I want to sell personalized hoodies. Now, it is unlikely that somebody of my age or my generation is going to go around with a personalized hoodie on. Very unlikely. So if you're pitching to me and my group of friends, it's unlikely your product is going to sell. But if you identify which target audience wears hoodies, one, they're usually young people. Yeah? Oftentimes they're male. A lot of undergraduates like hoodies. A lot of secondary school children like hoodies. So you've identified your demographic. So you don't waste time and you don't waste money marketing to group A when your target audience should be group B. So these are the kind of things that make the business disappear even before it has started, because we don't do enough market research. All right. Another thing that I've identified is that we think small. We tend to think small, and you can see that in the way our businesses are. Our businesses tend to be small businesses. Small businesses. Not even small businesses, because the definition of a small business in the UK is a business that has between 2 and 250 employees. Our businesses tend to be micro businesses. One-man bands. That's what our businesses tend to be. It's very unusual to have a black-owned business that has staff for a start. We are the be-all and the end-all in the business. That will affect your growth. That will definitely affect your growth. You can't be everything to everyone. When you start off, yes, you tend to be that. But very quickly, you need to move away from that. You need to get other people on board and move away from that. So another problem we have is we don't have a growth mentality. We have a founding mentality. We want to start the business, which is a great thing because there are other communities that don't even get around to starting the business. So it's really good that we actually start businesses. But starting is only the first step in a business. What is the growth strategy? Most black business owners can't tell you. They have no idea. It's not even occurred to them to think about a growth strategy. And when they do, if you ask them, how do you want to grow? They don't know. By how much do you want to grow? They don't know. This time next year, what is your proposed bottom line? They don't know. How are you planning to implement the growth that you're thinking about? They don't know. So it can sometimes be quite disheartening, to be honest, talking to black entrepreneurs. These are things that we need to begin to think about. The day of a micro business, come on, that's over. We need to begin to grow. to strategize as to how we can grow. Another thing that I think the Asian community and the Jewish community, but particularly the Asian community, are good at doing that we don't often do, is they get their children involved in the business. Go to your local Asian-owned convenience store. When the kids come back from school and they've done their homework, oftentimes you'll actually see them doing their homework in the shop. They are there manning the shop. I remember my children, this is something that I learned from Donald Trump. I haven't learned a lot from Donald Trump, but that one I definitely learned from Donald Trump. I remember many years ago, I was watching an interview that he was doing on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and he was saying that he always takes his children to work. And those children at that time were under 10 years of age. He says, I always take my children to work. They're always around me. If I'm having a business meeting, they're sitting under the table, they're playing with their toys, but they are around me. So they can hear the business talk. They get used to be holding meetings. They get used to seeing people come in and out of the office. They are around the office. They begin to understand how the office works, that kind of thing. And as they grew older, he didn't let them take up prime positions until they had worked in every department of his business. So they worked their way up from the cleaning up until the board meeting. They experienced every aspect of the business. And I've done the same with my kids. I was looking at an old photograph the other day and I was laughing. I was looking at my youngest son. It was a picture of when I went to speak somewhere and he was manning my stand. So I had all my products displayed on a stand and I was speaking, and it was his job to man the stand. And I can actually remember having to wake him up very early on Saturdays, say, get up, we're going together. And he would moan, Mom, but I want a lion. And I said, listen, what you're going to learn will earn you a lion in the future. Now you got to get up. So we would go to these events together and he would man the stand. And I cannot tell you the skills that our children acquire when they're involved in our business. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do this with the mindset of, or with the aim of passing the business on to them, because the truth be told, many of our children don't want our business, to be honest. They want to chart their own path. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem with that. But the skills that they acquire from being involved in entrepreneurship are priceless and will serve them well in their future. So just by manning my stand, my son gets to be involved in customer service because he has to greet the customers. And I've taught him how to engage with customers in a way that will make them want to buy products. Even just smiling and being approachable and having the information to hand. He had to have the information about products. As regards price, he needed to know what was the price of each product, how people could pay. So those who are paying in cash, he needs to know how much to give them back in change. He had to have the information as to other ways in which they could pay. So he had information on a piece of on a slip as to how they could pay online. He had the account details. All those kind of things are important, and he acquired those skills that will serve him well in the future. So we should get our children involved. If you are a caterer, get your child. I mean, I think it's a tragedy if you are a caterer and your daughter doesn't know how to cook. That's a tragedy. Get your children involved in how to cook. Let them see what you do. Let them be involved in it. Take them along when you're selling the product. Those kind of things, they're very, very important. And so when we're talking about generational wealth, other communities arm their children with skills that will serve them in the future and enable them, empower them to create their own wealth. And if we don't do that, then again, our children are going to be starting from behind. And I think we do our children a great disservice if we don't expose them to entrepreneurship. It's important. It's important. Don't let your children just lie around during the summer holidays. Let them go and work. Let them go and work. It won't kill them. Let them go and work and see what life is really about so they'll be served well in the future. Okay, another thing that we don't do when it comes to business is we don't understand the importance of professional services until we get into trouble. If you're going to go into business, you need, at a minimum, you need an accountant or a bookkeeper. You need that. You need a lawyer. Please hear me. You need a lawyer to keep you out of trouble, to protect you, and to help you when things go wrong. Don't wait until you have done wrong, or somebody has done you wrong before you get a lawyer. You need one. And of course, I'm going to do a plug. We have a law firm, if you're based in the UK, Augustine Clement Solicitors, and we're a commercial law firm. We're dedicated to small business owners. So by all means, please give us a shout out if you need any help. It's Augustine Clement Solicitors. If you Google us, you will find us. And our number is 0203-223-0800. By all means, any advice or any help that you need in relation to your business, don't sit there in silence. Don't sit there and suffer. Don't sit there in ignorance because you lack the information that you need to do well in your business. Hire somebody that can help you. You will also need a business advisor. I will strongly encourage you to get one. Strongly encourage you to get one. Okay, another reason why I think our businesses don't last for very long, and research shows that they last between 5 and 7 years, is we don't collaborate enough. We don't collaborate enough. Too many of us are doing our own little thing in our own little corner of the world, and we're doing it literally to death. Listen, don't do that anymore. And I've got to say, this is one area that I'm pleased to see in the recent years. And when I say recent years, I'd say within the last 3 years, but that is changing. I see more and more black groups begin to come together. What can I do that can help you? What can you do that can help me? One of the things that I'm doing tomorrow, actually, I'm speaking at the Christian Christian Millionaires Book Club. I'm speaking there, and I'm going to be speaking about a mastermind group and promoting a mastermind group that I run to them, because it is a way in which you can collaborate. I cannot overemphasize. Actually, Archie, if you'd be kind enough to put that on the screen. I cannot overemphasize the importance of being involved in a mastermind group. I really can't. I can't overemphasize, because a mastermind group, it brings together a group of like-minded entrepreneurs. You're all on the same page, and all they do is they brainstorm and they help you solve problems in your business that will stop your business from disappearing off the face of the earth. They help you. They lend of you their expertise, they lend of you their contacts, and sometimes they even lend of their money to ensure that your business succeeds. And they hold you accountable. And these are the things that you need in business. Otherwise, entrepreneurship can be a very lonely enterprise. It can be very lonely. And if you're not careful, something that started as a good idea or can turn into something that frustrates you and depresses you and disappears off the face of the earth. So you need to have these kind of collaborations. Look, we've got to move away from small-minded thinking. I have known people who have refused to collaborate because the collaboration would have meant that their name would not be on the door, or their name would not be on the stationery, or they would no longer be the MD. Who cares whether you're the MD? Who cares whether you're named as a director? I would rather be involved in something that is working, be involved in something that has 10% profit, than own something that has 100% that has 0% profit in it. What's the point? What is the point? I was watching, I was sharing this with my husband yesterday actually. I was watching Shaq O'Neal on the Ellen show the other day. And he was talking about how he is one of the largest shareholders of Google. Who knew? You never hear Shaq O'Neal's name mentioned in relation to Google, but he's one of the largest shareholders. Who cares whether your name is written on the stationery? What is important is that you are involved with somebody or with something that can take you from A to B in your business and make it grow. That's what is important. That is what is important. Okay. So I think I'm going to end that there. I'm going to end that section there. And we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go into the book corner. Now, for those of you who don't know, I've introduced a section into the show called the book corner, because it is very important that as entrepreneurs, we are growing. Oftentimes, we're so busy doing stuff that we don't grow. And actually, I'm going to end with that. That another reason why we don't grow is because we have our finger in too many pies. You have someone who is, I'm an accountant, but I also sell Mary Kay, and I also do this, and I also do that. Now, I'm all for diversifying, as you well know. I am all for diversifying. But you must have a main thing that you are doing. Yes? You must have a main thing that you're doing. Everything else is peripheral. Anything else is peripheral. And if you have your finger in too many pies, that dissipates your ability to concentrate on the main thing. So keep the main thing the main thing. Having your finger in too many pies doesn't necessarily increase your bottom line. It doesn't. So concentrate on the main thing. And if you're going to invest in something else, invest in such a way that it can run by itself. It doesn't need your brain power. It doesn't need your physical presence. So either get yourself involved in something that you can automate, or you have a team that can run it for you. Okay? Otherwise, sooner or later you're going to find yourself running on empty, and it will affect your business. So we're going to take a short break, and then we'll come back, and we're going to be reviewing. We're still reviewing T.D. Jakes' book, Reposition Yourself, and mining some of the nuggets that are contained therein. See you in a moment.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur, and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business, but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bebe Means Business Show. And right now we're going to go straight into the book corner. The book corner. And we are still reviewing T.D. Jakes' book, Reposition Yourself, which is an excellent book, and I will recommend it. Okay, so one of the things that he says in his book is you cannot achieve what you cannot conceive. You cannot achieve what you cannot conceive. And for those of you who are with me before the break, you remember that we're looking today at black businesses. Where are we now? And one of the things that we looked at is the fact that our businesses tend to be small. And one of the reasons why our business tends to be small is because we cannot conceive, for some reason, for a number of reasons, we find it very difficult to conceive and indeed believe that we can own big businesses. So if you are running your business from, I don't know, a table in your bedroom, you need to begin to conceive that I'm going to move out of this bedroom, I'm going to buy my own building, or I'm going to move into an office, a larger office in town. Begin to conceive that. Begin to think about it. Begin to own it. And for those of you who are of the faith, begin to pray it into being. Or perhaps you've been in your office for the last 5 years, but you're in a low-end part of town, and you've always wanted to have an office in the city, because that will take you to another level. Begin to conceive it. Why should somebody else have an office in the city and you shouldn't? Why? They don't have two heads. Why? They're an entrepreneur just like you are. So begin to think bigger, ladies and gentlemen. Begin to conceive what it is that you want. Begin to conceive what it is that you want. So let's say your annual return right now is 100,000. But what you would really like is to have your turnover to be 500,000. Begin to see that. Conceive it in your mind. You know what? My services are worth 500,000. Or maybe I'm currently charging an hourly rate of 150. But you know that you are worth a lot more than that. Yeah? So begin to conceive it. I am worth £250 an hour. So the next time I'm going to go and pitch to someone, that is what I'm going to tell them. My fees are £250 an hour. And I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to back down. That is how much I charge. And if that client says no, then clearly they're not your client. Go look for your client. Go look for your client. Okay, there's nothing, I've said this before on this program, there is nothing like a product that is too expensive. Nothing like that. If they can't afford it, then they're not your client. Go look for your client. Okay, another thing that T.D. Jakes says in his book is never give up. Never give up. Keep doing until. Never give up. Keep doing until. So don't let age stop you. Oh man, I've missed the boat. I'm in my 50s now. It's never going to happen for me. That is a lie. That is a lie. There is no reason why it cannot happen for you. There is no age limit on success. And success is defined by the continuous pursuit of a goal. For me, as far as I'm concerned, that's it. The continuous pursuit, continuous and persistent pursuit of your goal. That is success. That it's not a destination, it's a journey. That is success. There is no reason why you have to stop pursuing your goal just because you hit 50. No reason. If you're not where you want to be in relation to your business, then keep going. Keep going. For as long as you have breath in your body, ladies and gentlemen, then you should keep moving towards your goals. That's what you should keep doing. Until they drop you down into 6 feet under the earth, keep moving forward. Now, you may not be as physically strong. I accept that. That's fine. But that's still no excuse. Still no excuse. If you need to hire younger people that can run with your vision, then hire younger people. There are young people walking around doing nothing with their time. Let them come and work in your business voluntarily until you are able to pay them. Okay? So never give up. Don't let age or even lack. Don't let your bank balance psych you into believing that is all you are worth. It's a lie. It's a lie. You are worth a lot more than your bank balance will have you believe. Worth a lot more. Mind what God placed in you. Now is the time. Those creative ideas that God put in you, those gifts and abilities that God placed in you, begin to stir them up. Begin to mind them and use them to create wealth. Keep doing until. Another thing that he says is that you will take on the characteristics of a winner just by being around those that are successful. Oh, I love that. I got to shout out an amen to that one. I've got to shout out an amen to that one. If you are around, if you make a conscious effort to consistently hang around wealthy and successful people, you will begin to take on their characteristics. You'll begin to talk like them, think like them, dress like them, dream big like them. Dream big like them. Listen, you've heard me say this before. If you have 7 broke friends, guess who's going to be number 8? Okay, it's a no-brainer. So sometimes you need to analyze the people that you're hanging out with and ensure that they are where you want to go, or they are going in the same direction as you want to go, which is why I definitely recommend being in a mastermind group, because you're all going in the same direction. All right. He also says, and I'm going to end with this, that you must give yourself permission to lay down some of the balls that you are juggling if they are not advancing your core cause, and to say no to what are even good opportunities for the very same reason. I'm going to say that again. You must give yourself permission to lay down some of the balls that you are juggling. Like I said just before the break, some of us have got our fingers in too many pies, and they are not profitable. So use this as an opportunity to analyze, okay, what exactly am I involved in by way of business? Is me selling cosmetics, is it really helping me? For all the effort and the time that I'm putting into it, is it really increasing my bottom line such that it justifies all the time that I'm spending on it? Or if I did away with that, would that give me more time to spend on my core business? Would I be able to invest more in my core business, and the growth therein that would come as a result would be more than me wasting my time in 4 or 5 different businesses? So he said you must give yourself permission to lay down some balls. If that doesn't make you a failure, if you've been involved in the business for some time and it's not working and clearly it ain't gonna work, the fact that you lay it down doesn't make you a failure. You must distinguish being a failure from a business not doing what you wanted it to do. Okay, should not be personal. That doesn't make you a failure. So give yourself permission to lay down some of the balls that you are juggling, and that might extend to things beyond your business. There might be other things that you are involved in that are taking away from your business. One of the things that I discovered is that mentoring or coaching people takes away from my core business. So I limit the number of people that I coach or I mentor a year. I only take on a certain number of people that I mentor a year. And for me to mentor you, you have to be, I have to see that you are serious about what you are. I haven't got the time to just be pouring myself into somebody that's, that's very casual about their business. I got to see that you're hungry. You're hungry. So I limit my time to those kind of people so that, again, I don't dissipate my energy. So give yourself permission to lay down some balls that you are juggling that are not working, that are just not working. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much again for your time. I do respect the fact that you could be doing something else with your time, so I'm glad that you're spending it with Bebe on the Bebe Means Business show, and I know it's worth your while, which is why you keep coming back. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's listening from all over Africa, because we have an increased number of people listening from Africa. So I want to thank you so much for the support. Thank you for tuning in every week. Tell others, there's lots to learn. If you've got children who seem like they're not doing anything with their life, tell them to tune in. You never know what spark will be ignited in them, so that you ensure that they have a bright future. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again. Stay safe, stay well, and as I always say, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life. Bye-bye.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur, and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers?